Manchester has a rich railway history, so I'm going to spend some time exploring it and its suburbs. The city helped to build the first modern train line from Liverpool in 1830. In turn, the railway transformed Manchester into a powerful global hub. And it was here that the first railway timetables were published and sold. So to start off, I'm heading right for the centre, where it all began. Manchester, Victoria. Manchester, one of the hugely important cities in the development of our railways, and also the birthplace of one George Bradshaw. Thank you. Bradshaw, being from Manchester, must have written about this city with particular pride, and his guidebook contains this page of illustrations of the buildings that the Victorians were so proud of, the Free Trade Hall, the Exchange Building. Fantastic achievements that I'm really looking forward to seeing again. Many of these grand buildings, so familiar to Bradshaw, were built with the wealth generated by the cotton trade in the early 19th century. And it was around that time that Manchester was nicknamed Cottonopolis. I'm hoping to get a tour of Cottonopolis from local guide Jonathan Schofield, starting at the Royal Exchange Building. Hi, I'm Michael. Great to see you.
Nice to meet you, Michael. Good to see you. Welcome to Manchester.
It's lovely to be here. Why have you brought me to the Exchange Building first?
Well, I suppose the Royal Exchange is the spiritual heart of Manchester. It was what really gave Manchester its dynamism and drove it was trade, it was business, and the Royal Exchange is the heart of that business.
I'm carrying this 150-year-old guidebook, Bradshaw's. Bradshaw describes this building. He was very impressed by this rounded Doric front, and he describes the cotton lords meeting here on a Tuesday.
Yes, well, they were cotton lords. Manchester was Cottonopolis, and these were the cotton barons, or the cotton tots they were often called as well. And they would come here and they would do business. And by the way, it's so crowded in there that you had a grid reference. In the columns on the inside, you had letters and numbers, so I'll meet you at J2. Because you would not find the trader otherwise.
Describe the trade to me. Where's the cotton coming from before it reaches Manchester? Where's it going to after it's been in Manchester?
Well, it's coming from, I suppose, the hotter parts of the world in some respect. It's coming from the southern states of the USA or Egypt, places where they could grow raw cotton. We cannot grow raw cotton around here. And so therefore it would come at least 1,000 miles.
The new railway gave Manchester a competitive edge over the rest of the world, and sent the cotton industry into overdrive. Textiles, spinning, weaving and dyeing dominated Victorian Manchester and the small mill towns that surrounded it. By 1913, 65% of the world's cotton was processed in the area.
By the end of the century, we were selling printed fabric back to tribes people in Africa. The Indians were getting Indian designs sent back from Manchester to India that maybe came from cotton that they'd grown originally. It was crazy, but it just built up that classic competitive advantage.
So what's going to be the next spot on Jonathan's tour of Cottonopolis?
Now we're here at the Cotton Cathedral, I suppose, of the Royal Exchange. Let's go to the Civic Cathedral, which is Manchester Town Hall.
Okay.
All around the city you get these little gems that tell a story about Manchester and its cotton heyday. Sometimes they're on the buildings, sometimes they're literally on city streets. And just here you can see iron curbs, which are very distinctive. I've come across them in other cities, but not with the regularity you see them in Manchester. And that's because these vast cotton trucks covered in cotton bales, overladen with cotton bales, would crack and smash stone curbs. So what they thought to do, we'll put iron curbs. They didn't actually work, they just got pushed into the ground, but they didn't crack at least. And you can see these certainly in the warehouse districts, but also in other areas of the city. And it's just a little reminder. We still rattle around in the bones of the cotton industry in Manchester.
A vein of history written into the streets.
Exactly.
This is a wonderful way to approach the town hall, isn't it?
It is. It's the best way. Face on at Manchester's Civic Cathedral that tried to embody all those virtues of independence of spirit and mind.
This grand neo-Gothic pile cost £1 million to complete in 1887. That's about £48 million in today's money, which shows just how wealthy Manchester had become.
What it is really, I suppose, is a complete encapsulation of that high Victorian utter confidence. And I think the golden ball with spikes on the top there is a classic one. I mean, most town halls might have had a crown or a cross or something like that. We've got a symbol of the cotton industry, of a cotton bud about to burst and give us the raw material itself. But also, and I love this particular one, it's the sun. And it's saying wherever the sun shines, Manchester has business. We are international. We don't look local, we don't even look national. We look across the world to our trade. And we feel we have influence on the world as well.
George Bradshaw was extremely proud of his home city and its monopoly of the cotton industry. He wrote, "Watt's steam engine, Arkwright's power loom, and the factory system, and inexhaustible supplies of coal have given superiority to Manchester." But when India gained independence, it began to process its own cotton much more cheaply. Manchester's cotton scene slowed, and by the 1950s, the mills began to close. Today, the mill buildings are surrounded by a different Manchester, a city of glass and steel. Historically, the fishermen of East Yorkshire wore thick wool pullovers called guernseys. They were hand-knitted by their wives and heavily patterned with symbols that represented the village they were from. Margaret Taylor married a fisherman, and the knitting of Filey pullovers is part of her heritage. Margaret, I find you hard at work.
Hello.
I'm Michael.
Pleased to meet you.
What are you working on there?
I'm working on a traditional fisherman's guernsey. Ours are very highly patterned because all the patterns have a meaning. That's the shingle on the beach. If you feel it, it's the nice texture. It's the little pebbles on the beach.
Yes. This is very good, yes.
The zigzag pattern. You never walk down the cliffs in a straight line.
No.
You go in a zigzag pattern. Then we have the diamond mesh, which is
The nets.
the crab pots.
GT.
That's my husband's initials, Graham Taylor. And part of the beauty of these in the years ago when people were lost at sea, it was identification. A body washed up, the Guernsey, they would all be wearing Guernseys then, hence the pattern, people knowing where it came from, and also with having the initial in, the body would be returned to the rightful owners.
That's very sad.
It's very sad, but it happened, unfortunately.
The Guernsey is tightly knitted, making it virtually wind and waterproof. In the 19th century, they were rarely washed, and it's said that the build-up of daily grime added a further protective layer. The knitting goes back in your family?
It does. There's evidence in a book that they were around in the 1800s, but I'm following my family tree and I've gone back to the late 1790s now, and they were wearing Guernseys in those days. So I don't have any photographs obviously from that time, but I do have one of my grandma and granddad wearing one of her Filey Guernseys.
Knitting them requires skill and patience. It takes even a proficient knitter at least 100 hours to complete a Filey Guernsey. Are there many people in Filey knitting sweaters?
You'd have to be very lucky to find a lady, one of the very few, who would knit you one.
And you can't buy them?
You can buy them at Flamborough. They will sell them in a shop up there. You go and order one and say what you want, and then they'll tell you when it's ready, which will be months away.
So, if I want a Filey Guernsey for Christmas, I'd better get my order in quickly. Richard Arkwright built several mills at Cromford, in which he developed the modern factory system. It was a new way of working that was soon copied all over Britain. The first was a water-powered cotton spinning mill. And this is it, the first factory in the world. Because before this, people in the cotton industry had done spinning and weaving in their own houses, the cottage industries. Now Arkwright brings it all together under one roof, powered by water in a factory. Quite incredible to think that 240 years ago, there were no factories. This is the beginning of industrialization right here. In his new factories, Arkwright could process huge quantities of cloth very quickly, and the River Derwent provided a cheap power supply. The village of Cromford is not what I expected. It's much prettier. It doesn't seem like the place that would be, the very heart of the Industrial Revolution. But now I think about it, Richard Arkwright, of course, established his mill here, partly because he needed the water, and partly because his family lived at the local castle, Willersley. And actually I can see an example of water power still operating, a water mill at the far end of this stretch of water. Arkwright's factory is now a museum, but nearby is the world's oldest factory still in use. It was set up in 1784 by Arkwright's finance director, Peter Nightingale, a relative of Florence Nightingale. His business partner was a Mr. John Smedley. Good morning, place. Oh, very historic room by the look. Hello, I'm Michael Portillo.
Hello, very nice to meet you. Thanks for joining us today.
It's great to see you. Ian McLean is one of his descendants. The Smedley family has been producing knitwear here for over 2 centuries. I mean, this is incredibly historic, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
What's the date outside?
1784.
84.
Yes.
So you're just 13 years after Arkwright.
That's right. So Arkwright was the first mill to be built, and then there were 2 others, and we were the 4th. And now the others are long since out of business, and that makes us the oldest manufacturing business in the world. Of course, the factory's been added to so many times over the years that it makes it almost like a rabbit warren. It's quite difficult to find your way around sometimes.
Parliament's just the same. I was there 20 years, and I think by the end of it, I only knew about 1/10 of it. This looks pretty ancient through here.
Yes, I'll show you the original 1784 mill building, which is, of course, a little bit hidden within the structure of the factory.
I mean,
itself.
1784, that is incredible, isn't it?
That's right. I mean, that's right back at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution.
The railways weren't here in 1784. So
no, that's right.
So the railways weren't fundamental to the development of this business?
Firstly, the canals came first in 1776. And then the first railway came in 1831. And
to where? Where did that come to?
High Peak Junction at Cromford. I think it was integral, really, to the growth of the business.
The arrival of the railway in the 1830s transformed industry here. The High Peak line allowed local factories to transport goods all over the country.
So this is history and this is modernity here. So if we look in the historic part.
Do you mean literally you keep this as a museum? You don't
No, not at all. No. These are very much working machines which make the garments that we sell. What they do is they make individual pieces of the garments. So one machine will make the collar, another machine will make the front, and another machine will make the back, and then another machine will make the rib that goes around the arm. And then very skilled hand workers will then link by hand those pieces of the garment together.
But it really does look as though we are looking from one century to another.
That's right, yeah, absolutely. I mean, these machines through here are the very latest technology.
When the newest machines were introduced in 2006, it became possible to make garments in one whole piece. These seamless clothes are meant to be exceptionally comfortable.
I think what's important is that whenever a new technology comes along, we're one of the first people to use it.
And you're not tempted to go off and do it all in China?
Absolutely not. No. We see the value of manufacturing in England.
The quality of the clothing is in part thanks to being washed in local spring water. It's unusually soft in this area and gives the cotton a silky feel. So here, these are sweaters and tops and so on.
Yep.
But you're also famous for long johns.
That's right, yes.
It's said that this is where long johns were invented.
Morning. How are you? Good morning.
Named after Ian's ancestor, John Smedley.
Is there a special feel to being in a family business?
Yes, of course. I mean, it's not just my family being the owners, but there are many, many generations of people who've worked in the factory for us.
Good morning.
Hello there.
Good morning. How are you all? Which one's Julie?
I am.
Julie, hello. I'm Michael. How do you do?
I am fine, thank you.
Have you been long in the business?
Julie is one such employee, whose family has made its living around this factory for 4 generations.
My grandma worked here, my sister worked here for a while, my daughter and my son, who does still actually work here as well.
Are there any other ladies who also have family going back like yours?
I don't know about the grandparents, but actually in this room alone we've got a mother and a daughter, we've got 3 sisters, and then we've got another set of 2 sisters. That's just in this room, so it is quite a family orientated business, definitely.
And what is it that you're actually doing?
My job is I actually put the back neck labels in, which is the John Smedley, made in England.
Made in England?
Made in England.
Does that make you proud?
Oh yes, that's what we like to see. Made in England.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
It's incredibly rare to find a business like this. Not only has the same family run the company for over 200 years, but the employees stay generation after generation. A family supported by one industry, decade after decade, is a way of life which has all but died out.
Hello, gentlemen.
My first stop is in a town famous for, as Bradshaw notes, its buckles, spurs and bits.
Well, here I am in Walsall, a place I've been to before. But according to Bradshaw, this is the place that makes saddles, and that takes me into the world of horses and riding, which I must say is a foreign country to me.
Despite the growth of the railways, there was still a huge demand for leather goods for horses in the 1840s. Walsall became the place to go for high-quality saddles, stirrups and bridles, and it still is today.
I've come to the historic factory of the saddler to the Queen, and here I'm due to meet Cliff. Good morning.
Good morning, Michael. Welcome to the old building of Jabez Cliff & Company.
Wow. It's not exactly in mint condition, is it?
No, it isn't. We were here for 130 years, so we moved out 2 months ago.
Well, you've got a new place now where you do
Oh, we
it.
have a new place 2 miles away.
And why did saddlery become the trade for Walsall?
Well, you have the River Tame for a ready supply of water. You actually need limestone to cure the hides. So you had a ready supply of that. You had, we are in the Black Country, you're on the edge of the Black Country, so you had all the bits, stirrups, and all the other metalwork.
Because you always had iron ore.
You always had iron ore, so everything was there.
At one time then, the town must have been full of tanneries.
Oh yes, we had. I know to a fact that we had 5. And years ago, when a child wasn't eating well, they used to take the child outside, and they used to, the tan pit doors used to be open, and the child used to get a whiff of all the tan liquors, and it was the belief that it actually helped improve made the child eat quicker.
I mean, so at one time, Walsall had a very distinctive stink, did it?
It had you can say it had a tinge. It had its own aroma.
It's still a saddlery town, isn't it?
It is still a saddlery town. There's probably about 50 saddlery businesses left in the town. Would you like to come and see the remnants of our old factory?
I'd love to.
The dreadful smell was perhaps a small price to pay for Walsall's reputation for having the best saddlers. British leather was in particularly high demand because it was made with English oak. This was slower at tanning than other woods and produced a softer, stronger leather.
This is where the cutting room and saddle shop used to be.
Wow. So what did this look like in its heyday? It must have been buzzing with activity.
I have an old photograph here taken in about 1908. And if you can see it...
Of this room?
Of this room. And you can see a man there in a bowler hat.
And what were these people actually doing in here?
They're all actually preparing saddles.
So this is not a production line?
No,
Each
it is piecework. Quality in those days was unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. A century ago, how many saddles might you have been making?
one man might make 2 or 3 saddles a week.
That's pretty good, it seems to me.
During the Victorian era, Cliff's Saddlery could produce around 500 saddles a month. Today, in the company's new factory, the number's very similar. Interestingly, the same system is still used. One person makes each saddle from start to finish. But modern technology, like the sewing machine, means that they can be made more quickly by fewer people.
But we're talking about valuable products here, aren't we?
Oh yes, but in those days, I know I have some photographs somewhere where in an advert, I think a saddle was selling for trade price, I might add, was going for about 42 shillings.
And today?
It's a lot more than that.
It was feared that the saddle industry would be destroyed as trains replaced horses for transport. But even in late Victorian times, there were still over 3 million horses pulling cabs, working on farms, and in the cavalry. It wasn't until after the First World War, when cars became popular, that saddlers were forced to diversify.
As trade changed, we actually started making footballs. We started making golf bags. In the First World War, we were actually making torpedo cases in leather that they could actually lower the torpedoes into the submarines.
For which side?
For the English side, of course. For the winning side. This item here is actually what they used to knock the seams on of the footballs.
These are the old footballs with the laces that
These are the ones that when they played...
weighed an awful lot, and if they...
That's it, when it got wet...
if you headed it, you could get a...
Oh, yes.
A very nasty injury.
A very nasty injury.
And it was all done on there. How many generations are your family?
We are now 7. I am generation number 6 with a brother and a cousin, and I have 2 nephews who are now in the business, one being the MD.
The transfer of skills through the generations and the saddle industry's willingness to embrace change have ensured that it's still successful today. Just as in Bradshaw's day, Walsall still has a reputation for providing quality saddles at luxury prices. In this wonderfully preserved museum of a village, the school building gives us a clue as to how Titus Salt made his money. 2 alpacas. He went down to the Liverpool docks one day, and they used to use alpaca fleeces as ballast in ships coming from South America. And then they were just tossed away. And Titus Salt thought this is ridiculous to waste the alpaca fleeces in this way, and he devised a way of using it, a way of spinning alpaca into a beautiful, fine, soft cloth. He began transporting alpaca fleeces by rail from the docks and was soon producing 30,000 yards of cloth a week. The new fabric quickly became popular as a cheaper alternative to silk, and as its inventor, Titus Salt became one of the richest men in Yorkshire. The Peruvians stopped exporting alpaca fleeces in the 1980s when they set up their own manufacturing business. But the story carries on a farm just outside Saltaire.
Hello.
Hello, I'm Michael.
Hello, I'm Shauna.
Lovely to see you. I've come to see some alpaca.
Ah, well, it's feeding time. The alpacas are out in the rain. We'll see if we can persuade them to come down. Come on.
Shauna Whitecross has been raising alpacas since 1998. Come on. Come on then. She runs a small-scale business selling animals and sending fleeces off to be spun, just like Titus Salt's. They're very sweet and they're pretty shy. What else can you tell me about them?
Well, the fleece is equivalent to cashmere, really. They have something called lustre, which means that they shine as well. You can see this black one's a nice example.
Lovely.
It's partly because she's wet, but she does have a beautiful shiny fleece. And that was something that apparently Queen Victoria was really impressed by, because it was really fine, really lightweight, and it had a natural sheen to it.
I suppose alpaca are quite rare in Britain.
They would have been at one stage, but they aren't now. I think the numbers are increasing. There's about 20,000 in the UK that are registered.
These days, alpacas are also popular with farmers because they're said to keep foxes at bay. So with an ever-increasing number of alpaca in Britain, could we look forward to large-scale production of alpaca cloth?
I would hope that's the way it's going to go, and yes, I would look forward to that, really.
They're getting a bit used to me now, aren't they?
They are. They're naturally curious. This is Holly. She likes smelling hair.
Once again, I feel lucky to be travelling with the Bradshaw's Guide. It consistently leads me to hidden corners of our national history.
I'm now on my way to a place called Batley, not a town name that springs to everybody's lips, but in the 19th century it was responsible for the invention of an industry that I'd always regarded as much more recent, more modern: recycling.
Today, Batley strikes me as a quiet place, but in Bradshaw's time, things were very different. My 19th century guidebook tells me that Batley has extensive woolen and carpet manufactures. It might also have mentioned that those industries were based on the concept of reusing waste material. Malcolm Haig has been researching the story.
Hello.
You, Malcolm?
I am. Good to see you.
I'm Michael. Very good to see you indeed. Now, I understand Batley has some claim to have invented recycling. What's that based on?
Well, yes, that is. It's a system whereby a guy from Batley, called him Benjamin Law, wanted to find a new means of earning money and expand his work as a clothier here.
The story goes that Benjamin Law began to tear up rags and waste from Yorkshire's extensive woolen industry, attempting to make new cloth.
He mixed the torn up woolen rags with virgin wool, and then was able, after a number of years of trying, to create cloth, fresh cloth.
What did he call it?
Well, eventually it became known as shoddy, which sounds a very awful thing to do, shoddy cloth. I mean, everybody thinks it's awful, but in fact it comes from an Arabic word, very similarly sounding for reuse.
Recycled shoddy cloth was such a success that by the 1850s, thousands of tons of rags were arriving in Batley Station each week.
I suppose this must have been quite a station in its day too.
This was central to Batley's prosperity. The railway companies who came here didn't really bother about passengers. It was bringing the goods in. In those days, there were no less than 7 platforms.
Really?
And a huge area given over to warehousing and auctions, because when the rags came here, thousands of tons from all over the world, they were auctioned on a regular basis here at the station.
Did Batley make a fortune on the back of this?
Some people did. Some people made an awful lot of money, but best of all was that from this system, lots and lots of manufacturers, mills were created here, which meant that over the years thousands of people have had jobs in this valley and creating things like woolen cloth, uniform cloth in particular, which is why this whole area is known as the heavy woolen district.
What would Batley have looked like in its heyday? If we were standing here, what might we have seen across the valley there?
Well, something like, in the valley, 60 mill chimneys. All of them, that's if you could see them, because they used to throw out the dirt every hour, on the hour, so sometimes you couldn't see from one side of the valley to the other.
Shoddy was a massive recycling industry right into the 20th century. But from the 1960s, the growth of synthetic fabrics forced it into decline. Most of the mills have closed now, but Batley has become an important centre for a new kind of recycling. I'm meeting Joanne Illingworth to see how it works in the 21st century.
What are you actually doing?
We're textile recyclers. We process second-hand clothing. We sort it, we hand sort it, and then we export the final product. Most of it goes abroad. A lot of it goes to Eastern Europe, but the main bulk of the clothing goes to Africa. and some goes to Pakistan as well. A small percentage does stay in this country.
And where do you get it all from?
The main source is charity shops. They're off the rails what they can't sell.
Is there a benefit to the environment from what you're doing?
Of course, anybody that wants to, you know, throw their old clothing away, if they just throw it in the bin, it's obviously going to go to landfill. Whereas if it comes here, it's all processed and sorted and all goes for reuse again.
And what do you do with the stuff that really isn't fit for human wear?
That will be gone for shoddy, and then there is a very small percentage that will go to landfill.
Shoddy is still used, is it, for recycling
It
materials?
is, yeah. We sell to other companies who will process it into shoddy. So they do still use that word, yes.
Although recycling has moved on, seeing clothes being sorted by hand makes me sense a connection with work in Bradshaw's day.
So what judgment are you making? What are you
Well,
deciding?
I know that's heavy, so I know that goes straight into there. So is that. And then I can judge straight away the light. Summary, so it goes there.
Summary there.
And it'll go to ladies on belt there.
That's
Okay. Well, I guess that's a critic again, don't you?
it's feel.
Yeah,
Go
all right.
by feel alone.
How long have you been doing this?
About 25 years.
Have you really?
Yeah,
I wonder how many bits of clothing you've sorted in that time.
I don't know.
This is heavy enough for Pakistan.
Yeah, Pakistan,
right, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I'm getting the hang of this.
As I move on to catch my next train, I'm impressed to think that here in Yorkshire, recycling is an industry with 150 years of history.
When I've taken stuff into a charity shop, I've sometimes wondered whether I'd be embarrassed if I bumped into someone locally wearing my clothes. But it never occurred to me that they might end up in West Africa or Pakistan, having travelled via Yorkshire.